Welcome to Classical 95.9 WCRI's Conducting Conversations with your host, Mike Mano. 1 hour of music and conversation with notable people in the arts, bringing you the stories of how music has impacted their lives. The show will give a behind-the-scenes look at the guest's background, interests, or special project.
Conducting Conversations is brought to you by Roberts Musical Instruments. From sheet music and brand name instruments to rentals, repairs, lessons, and more. Roberts Musical Instruments is your key to musical success. Call 823-5459. That's 823-5459.
And now here's your host, Mike Mano.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conducting Conversations. Tonight it's my pleasure to once again welcome into our beautiful studios here in downtown Exeter, Rhode Island, the one, the only, the very famous, the talented, the somewhat good-looking Aaron-Larget. Caplan is here. Welcome back to the program, Aaron.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Now, when was the last time you were introduced as talented and good-looking?
I don't think ever. I mean, my mom said I was good-looking growing up, but talented and good-looking, that's a double play.
For those of you that don't recall Aaron being on the show before, this is probably, 6, 7, 8 times now? Maybe more?
I think so. I mean, I have to check my whiskey supply, but I think you sent me a case, and I've been coming back ever since. So.
There you go. Aaron is a world-class guitarist and does travel around the world teaching and performing. And it's great to have you back again. And we're celebrating the fact that you have a new recording coming out.
I do. I'm very excited. It's called Guitar America 250, which obviously celebrates the
250th of America, yeah.
Yes, and it's on Navona Records, which is the first record I've put out with them. It's very exciting, a New England label, but international. And it's a different record for me. It is solos, there's a beautiful duet for violin and guitar, and there's some spoken word. I thought with this theme that everything should connect to America in a musical way, sometimes the zits, sometimes the beauty of our great nation's history. And so there's patriotic songs, there's classical composers, there's even a little bit of Paul Simon and Eddie Van Halen because, I grew up in the 80s and I was an electric guitarist, and that's what we have to do.
Well, let's get back to that growing up part. For people that might have missed a little bit of your background, you did not grow up in the Boston area where you live now, right?
Correct. I grew up in Denver, Colorado.
Colorado,
that's it.
Well, I guess we showed you guys last week.
Oh, that's right. Yes, it was, when I moved to Boston for school, my grandmother used to call me and say, Aaron, did you watch Johnny play? She was talking about John Elway.
Of course.
And when I left, they won the Super Bowl twice. And so I take full credit. I was the black sheep that
moved away
back.
and helped them win.
I helped them win. And then I moved here and New England started winning. So I take full credit for that too. I do not throw footballs. But I grew up in Denver and I played electric guitar. And then at 16, I saw a video of Andres Segovia and I said, that's what I want to do. And sat down and would play before school, after sports. And became obsessed and moved to Boston for school and then studied and worked. And I practice a lot. I think I'm getting better. And now I'm here in Exeter, Rhode Island.
There you go. All right. Well, we'll find out more about your background and the music, but let's get people in the mood and play the first cut on this new album. And it is a CD, so I have to be careful now when I say album, depending on who's listening. If you're my age, you're thinking, it's a vinyl record. And if you're 10 years younger, you might be thinking of, maybe it's a cassette. And then if you're younger than that, you think it's a CD, but it's everything I do now is downloaded.
That's true. It is an album. It'll be available everywhere, streaming and CDs on Bandcamp and in concerts. And I will be in Rhode Island to present it. But the first track is called America by Leonard Bernstein. and it's from West Side Story, an amazing arrangement by the great Argentinian-American guitarist Jorge Morel.
Well, now that we're in the mood, let's make sure the audience knows how to find you and get in touch with you. Should they want to do that, you have a website?
I do. ALC Guitar. ALCGUITAR.com.
Okay, and then they're able to actually purchase all of your recordings from that site, right?
Yes, there will be links there to take you to streaming services as well as to Bandcamp. You can, of course, look me up on Bandcamp using the same ALC Guitar. Bandcamp is a very cool way to get music because I sell my physical CDs through there, as well as stickers, scores, autographed good stuff, and they do a decent deal for the artists. So it's a good place to go.
Excellent. All right. So let's get back to your background a little bit. We kind of left off where you had moved to Boston, you gone to school, and you started playing, and you were immediately world-renowned and successful.
Of course, I woke up one morning and I had all of these skills just touched, blessed by the angels above. No, I came to Boston. I went to school. I graduated from the New England Conservatory, and then I met a Russian who lived in a triple-decker and in Dorchester.
Dorchester, yeah.
And I pretty much lived at his house for about 7 years. I didn't actually live there, but I was there a lot, hours a week. And at that time, I was teaching at a community music school.
I mean, it wasn't your mailing address, but you spent most of your time there.
He was kind of like a second father to me. Call him that. Dmitry Goryachev, a great, great teacher. And I worked with him, and then I worked with young audiences going into schools to give educational programs, which is something I've always felt is very important. Because I do remember when at the time, the Denver Symphony, now the Colorado Symphony, came to my elementary school. And I remember I played clarinet in my elementary school band, and the clarinetist came and he played a Brahms sonata. And I remember it as if it was yesterday. I was like, oh, I should pay attention to this.
It's amazing how that impresses you at that age of I think I want to do this.
Yeah. And music is amazing. So I just finished up some residencies for the Aspen Music School and Bravo Vale in Colorado. And it was the same. I go in there with just such excitement, and it's almost more fun than the concerts, almost. Because the kids are like, what is this? And sometimes it's a high-end school. Other times it's not at all. And music is this great connector. That's really
Absolutely.
lovely.
Absolutely. I've been fortunate enough to experience some things like that myself. As a matter of fact, here's a story. You're going to love this one. Years ago, my quartet was performing at BYU, and we did a master class for the men's choir, which was unbelievably amazing as far as musicians were concerned. About 200 of them in the choir. Wow. Fast forward about maybe 20 years, I end up singing in a group with a man that had just moved to the area, and he said, I found out about singing a cappella from a quartet that came to BYU when I was a student there. And believe it or not, that's what happened. He was in the choir when we were there, and that's became his love for music, and now he's head first into it.
That's I mean, that's so cool. I love it. And I get notes here and there from people. Oh, you came to my school when I was a kid, or you taught me. I have students who have kids. I mean, they think of me as their like grandfather. I'm like, no, no, not yet. But there's something extremely powerful about what this is. And whatever the art is, sound does something, and we can give an introduction, we can explain the theory of it, but the magic, it's like sitting in front of a fireplace with a hot cup of cider. There's just, you in a winter time, not in the summer, there's something magical.
Yeah, it kind of covers you, it envelops you, all of those things. All right, let's get back to this recording, which is going to debut in a few weeks. We're kind of scooping you here. When I asked Aaron to be on the show, he said, well, the CD is going to be released on March 6th. And I said, but I need you before that. And he willingly came in, and I kind of surprised him and said, now we're on the air. And so we're going to be actually playing music that hasn't been released yet.
For all you listeners out there, pat yourselves on the back, because you're getting a sneak peek.
All right. And we're playing the whole song for you.
Yes. I petitioned that we should only play 3/4 of the tunes, but he said, no, that's not nice.
All right. Let's go to track number 3. Tell us about this one.
This is my arrangement of Lift Every Voice and Sing by J. Rosamond Johnson. This is a song that was written by two brothers and in Florida in 1900 to commemorate the birthday of Abraham Lincoln. And they wrote this song, taught it to some school children, and they did this big event. There's something like 300 kids singing it. And they, the event finished and they moved up to New York, didn't think about it. But those kids taught the song to, became teachers and taught those students who taught those students.
And so on.
And it has become known as kind of the Black national anthem. It is a beautiful tune. And it is easier to sing than the Star-Spangled Banner, but it is a beautiful song. I'm very happy to be able to share this. My arrangement is dedicated to the late poet Charles Coe, who passed away in November and is featured on the album. But it is, I played it for him. He was the first person to hear it.
Wow.
And so this is for him.
You did say it's easier to sing than the national anthem, but you're not going to sing.
I'm not singing. No, that's why I just mentioned who wrote the music. His brother had written the lyrics, but there are no lyrics in this version unless it's in your head.
All right, we'll give that a listen, take a short break, and we'll be back with more. We are back debuting an album of Aaron's that is called Guitar America 250.
Yes.
And it's going to be out in a few weeks, and we're scooping it all right here. So you're getting a sneak preview, and I thank Aaron very much for coming in and bringing this to us. And we talked during the break, you mentioned about writing something, and it's one of the things that I've always been very interested in, since I am not a writer. I'm strictly a performer, and I take everybody else's hard work, and I profit from it. How does a melody or a song, or whatever you want to call it, go from something in your head to paper?
Oh, it's hard. I don't know if it's hard. I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes I have a melody and I'm very good with rhythm. Like I know exactly the rhythm I want.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to find out, well, what's the meter though that I want that rhythm in? And because that can change how we do accents and how do I want it to look versus how I want it to sound? Because I could write something in a particular meter and it looks a certain way. And then I can change the meter, and technically they're kind of the same.
Yeah.
But based on someone's experience with reading music, they'll have a different feel.
Sure.
And so that I spend a lot of time tweaking something. So I try and write down everything as quickly as I can and let it come out of me, almost like a writing train of thought. Just let it come out, pick notes, and don't worry about spelling and all of these things. And I get those ideas out. I have a little notebook that I write everything in.
Yeah.
And then I look at it and I try and get into the mood or the zone that I was in when I was writing. And I write notes about that. Like I was thinking about Thursdays at 3:00 in Transylvania. I don't know. I was thinking about something.
So there's no particular lyric necessarily in your head or thought like,
No.
I'm going to write this about America, for
Right.
example.
Well, yes and no. Most of the music I write is instrumental.
Right.
But I did write a big piece for choir and guitar, SATB and guitar, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, and amplified guitar. And that I went very clearly. I actually started with the lyric
Really?
because it was for a holiday concert, and I said, okay, what's a holiday theme? And I made rules for myself. I wouldn't mention certain things. I would mention other things. And I liked the idea of the theme of protecting a stranger. You know, someone comes to your door and you protect them. You open your door. I thought that was very timely. And so I wrote basically a poem on that, and I put a little refrain in there. And so there the words started it. And then I decided on the words that created the rhythms that I wanted pretty much. And I knew where I went with the shape, and I draw pictures. I had a roommate, wonderful composer, Sean Crouch, who's down in Florida because he doesn't like the snow. And I walked into his bedroom studio, and he was doing a concerto. He was writing a saxophone concerto, and he had this big brown piece of paper with all these colors, that kind of a rainbow that spread out. And I said, what is that? And he goes, oh, that's the piece. That's what it's going to do. And I at the time, I couldn't wrap my head around it, but it always stuck with me. And so I look often at a piece of music and I draw kind of a picture of the direction I want it to go in, whether the notes are going up or down. Does it start very thin textured and spread out and open up? Does it start thickly and then get thinner? The process of composing, there's so many people who've written about it. Is one reason I love John Cage. He was all about the process and getting out of the way. And sometimes I blatantly steal from him. We've listened to a few pieces on this show where I choose 3 notes or 5 notes, and I'm going to write a piece on those 5 notes. Now, the listener shouldn't know that. That should never come across as, oh, he's just using 5 notes. It should still come across as a piece of art and beauty for me. Others might disagree with that. And yeah, so that's kind of in a nutshell, sometimes I just throw ink at the page and I go, what can come up? I have a set of piano pieces being played this year. And there was one point I just couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And so I did like 4 different versions of this one measure. And then I was like, and then I made a new one, kind of a mix of those 4. And that was my 5th measure. And it wasn't based on theory, but I do use theory quite a bit. And then I go, wait, is this going to be hard? Do I want to torture the player a little bit? Do I want it to be played? Because I have a lot of pieces written for me where it's like, I'll probably be the only person who will spend the time to do this.
To be able to actually get the notes out. Yeah.
And I also try and be respectful of the player. I know when I wrote this choral piece, I sent it to a friend of mine. I said, what do you think? Do you think this is good? Is there something horrible in there? And he goes, the sopranos can sing that, but they won't like you. And that was enough for me to change. I made a couple adjustments. I said, okay, here's what I want. Here's what's feasible. I'm not Beethoven. Beethoven would torture his singers, especially the high singers. Mozart would choose something if he didn't like a singer and, make it jump up and down because he could watch her head go up and down like a little pigeon, But yeah, it's amazing to write music.
Well, there you go. Now this next piece, track 6, is something you wrote.
No, I did not write this one. I wish I had written this one. This is Battle Hymn of the Republic.
You didn't write that?
No, I wish. I'm glad I didn't live at that time, but for other times. I did a collection of patriotic songs that are arranged for guitar that are on this album, and the arrangements are published by the American Composers Alliance, one of my publishers. And this piece is in there, Battle Hymn of the Republic by William Steff, and it is a Civil War song. And the opening is really cool. I basically impersonate a snare drum and do some variations. What's hard about a lot of these kind of folk traditional songs, making them instrumental, is that there are no words and they're very repetitive.
Yeah.
So I had to be creative in moving the melody to different places, trying to add elements. So it's not just play this, 16 bars 5 times. I try not to do that.
All right, let's give it a listen. Well, that was amazing. And I see when I'm adding these things in on the screen, all I'm seeing is lines. I don't see the notes. I don't see the words or things like that. But right away, I could see at the beginning this was going to sound like a snare drum, and it did.
It did.
There you go.
Yay.
What do you have next?
We're going to move from the Civil War to the World Wars, World War I and II, with two tunes. The first one is by George Cohan. It's called Over There.
Over there.
The Yanks are coming.
Yep.
And the second one is by Irving Berlin. It's God Bless America. I'm very happy with this arrangement, especially the second verse. I think it's a beautiful song. He actually wrote this during World War I.
Right.
And then it became much more well-known during World War II. Russian immigrant living in the U.S.
And I believe there also were some lyric changes in that between the time he wrote it and the time
Yes, he did
popular.
change the lyrics.
Yeah.
And the people who didn't like this song, it's a fascinating history. Highly recommend getting on the internet and going down that hole.
All right, here we go. Aaron, we have time for one more piece before we take our next break. What will that be?
This is a work called Adoration by Florence Price. It is originally a work for organ that has been arranged many times, and this is the first arrangement for violin and guitar. The violinist is the amazing Irina Morisanu, and I am the guitarist. And it is a short but beautiful work that I think people will enjoy.
We'll listen to that, take a short break, and be back with more. Tonight's Conducting Conversation is featuring guitarist Aaron-Larget Caplan. I am Mike Mano, and we're talking about Aaron's newest album, Guitar America 250. I was just going to say America 250, but the guitar is an important part of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. This is not an album that says this is all that is for guitar. A few people have already commented, what about this and this and that? This is just a very small survey of different guitar music. And there are many ways to learn history. And I've always been a big proponent of learning history through music and art. And rather than just, here's a date, here's a war. I think the arts reflect and can lead in many beautiful directions. And so it's much more fun to learn something. And I think it sticks with us when there's an emotional connection through the arts.
All right. Aaron-Larget Caplan is his name. I did that with a little French
Caplan.
thing there.
Larget Caplan. Oui.
Caplan?
Ah, oui.
And Aaron, your website for people that might have not caught the first segment, tell us what that is.
ALC Guitar, ALCGUITAR.com. And I am on all the streaming and services out there that you want.
There you go. All right. Tell us about these next two pieces.
These next two pieces have to do with trains because, America at one time had a lot of trains.
Sure.
And,
Yeah,
exactly. The first one is called Freight. It's by a composer up in Rochester, New York, David Liptak. And it's Freight after Elizabeth Cotten. Elizabeth Cotten was a black woman in the early mid 1900s. I think she died in 1970, and she learned to play the guitar upside down, and was kind of one of these people that were discovered of, oh, that's American folk music.
Wow.
And her most famous piece was a piece called Freight. And so David used that as an inspiration for a solo guitar piece. No, I do not hold the guitar upside down. The second work, it was written for me. It's the only piece on the album written for me, is by Ian Weiss, a composer up in Boston. It's called Midnight Train. And he would take the subway, the Red Line, home to Quincy, and the little knocking, ta-ta, ta-ta,
Yeah.
ta-ta, ta-ta, ta-ta. He thought that would be a good inspiration for a lullaby, for my new lullaby project. And I have enjoyed playing it. So there's a little percussion, a little melody.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do fall asleep, that is the only piece in this whole album you're allowed to fall asleep on. That's it.
Okay. Aaron, I want to thank you so much for coming in tonight, bringing your new music to our audience and letting us get a scoop on the debut that's going to be on March 6th. Other than that, you have other opportunities. People want to meet you and see you. They can do that in Rhode Island coming up, right?
They can. I will be performing in Providence at the Music Mansion on April 19th, which is a Sunday in the evening, 6 p.m. That is open to the public. It is, of course, that information is on my website, and I'll be performing a number of concerts around New England and abroad as well, celebrating this album over the course of the year. That does not mean sit on your hands. That means come to many of them.
Right.
And you can come and talk to poets, because there is some spoken word. And I look forward to being able to collaborate with a bunch of amazing people to celebrate the good, what can be improved, and the sacrifice of many who put together really great ideals that hopefully we can live up to.
Excellent. Thanks again for coming in. We've got two more pieces to play that are relatively short. Tell us about those.
One of my favorite composers, John Cage. In 1976, he wrote a piece called Apartment House 1776, and he used a song of William Billings, and he would take out notes. And so this is an instrumental that he wrote for piano. It's called Harmony 26, Judea by William Billings. You'll hear, it's kind of like you hear a song in the distance where you just get a few notes here and there, and it's very magical and spacious. And the second piece is a Massachusetts composer, Alan Hovhaness. He was from Somerville and Arlington, Massachusetts. And this is a work called Mystic Flute that I arranged. And he grew up right next to the Mystic River. So I have this image of him walking around the Mystic River and hearing a flutist play. It's a wonderful, magical piece that he wrote when he was about 22 or 23 years old. And I'm so happy to be able to share this music with the wonderful people of WCRI. Thank you for listening. Do come to a concert. And if you do, and you heard me here, come and tell me so I could see if this is working, Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks
Just a
again,
pleasure.
Aaron.
Thank you.
All right. Conducting Conversations was brought to you by Roberts Musical Instruments, using music and the arts to keep your child educated, entertained, and having fun. Roberts Musical Instruments is your key to musical success. Call 823-5459. That's 823-5459.